Hey, how's it going? And today we just wanted to talk about the size box. We wanted to go into a little bit more detail about it. What is it and when would you want to use it? And the truth is you could use it all the time, although there might not be necessarily a need for it. And there may be sometimes when you're doing something that nullifies it. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of that. So the size box is a size control container. You can think of it as forced and customized size control of child widgets. Whatever it has inside of it, it's going to control the size of that object. One thing it's good for is resolving conflicts between widgets and avoiding excessive and unnecessary padding of widgets. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say I've got a horizontal box here and I drag it onto the scene. I don't have a canvas panel. This is, notice here, this is on desired size, not full screen, which is misleading, right? So full screen is misleading. So this is the size that the horizontal box is. You can think of Neo in the Matrix, and when he goes into he's inside the tube where he's being fed. That's the reality of what he sees. So this is the reality of the horizontal box, the true reality. If I get a text, let's say I get some text, and I drag this into the horizontal box, now it's expanding. So this has a default size of 24 or whatever. So it's expanding now to that size. So, but let's say I wanted to bring in an audio slider. Now look what happens, right? Well, the one thing is on this, I can change its orientation, right? So I'm going to change it to horizontal. So that looks better, right? And let's say this doesn't say text block. Let's say this says audio. Right? So now we have this, right? But you'll notice, and this is the size of the slider. If I were to put this into a canvas panel, it would be this size. It's going to be much bigger than the text. And let's say I don't want it this long. Well, if I click on the slider, I don't really have any control to control its size. And it doesn't matter what button I press here. It doesn't really do anything. I mean, it changes it slightly, but it doesn't change the size. You see that? So what could I do to solve this? Well, if I come over on the audio slider and I right click and I simply go wrap with a size box, right? Now this slider is inside of a size box. And what did we say about that? It gives us, it's a size control container. So now that with this audio slider inside the size box, if I come over here to, let's say, width, it's at 0, so it shrinks down. But let's say I put in 150. Now I have an audio slider that's a lot more the size that I think it should be. So I've controlled the size of a child widget. It solved the problem for me, right? Because the audio slider, I couldn't change its size. Now I want to give you another example. Let me delete the horizontal box here. And let's say, let me get a vertical box now. And I'll drag this into the scene. And let's say I've got some text in there too. So let's say I put some text in the vertical box. Now I've got this in there, and it's essentially sized to fit, right? It's adjusting to the size of the text, right? Now let's say I want to put a border in here or not, some sort of underline. What I could do is get an image, right? And drag this down here and drag it into the vertical box. And now I have what appears to be a border, but it's pretty thick, right? So technically I could come over here, I believe, here on the brush and on the image size. It says 32 by 32. So I could technically adjust it this way, but I don't think this is the ideal way to do it. But I just feel like I'd like a better layer of control than this. So I come to the image, right click, go wrap with a size box. Now it's inside the size box, and that's my container of control. And let's say I want to decrease the height here, then I have control this way through the size box. So it's giving me an extra layer of control. I have two sets of controls now. I've got the size box controls with padding and alignment, and then I also have the image here. So now I have two layers of control. So I have a finer degree of control if I want to have more, let's say, buffer zones. So if I want, let's say I don't like this so close to the edge here. Now this brings up an important point. I want to show one thing. Right now I have this, I'm controlling the size of this, and notice it's set to fill. Now if I go on the width override, you notice I adjust the width here, and I have an effect here, right? I can actually expand the whole container but with my manual override. If you have a size box and it's set to fill here, essentially then there's no need for the size box. I mean, you can, like you just saw, I can expand out beyond that, but I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. But within the container itself, if you have a size box and it's inside of, it's a child itself, and then you set it to fill, then these settings become irrelevant. See how as I'm dragging down, it's not affecting anything because it's set to fill. So fill overrides the overrides here. So if you're going to put a size box inside of another container, then, and you set it to fill, then it kind of nullifies the whole point of the size box. Unless you want to do something kind of different and just go expand beyond the boundaries of the vertical box and expand the vertical box out. But I'm not sure why you'd want to do it that way. So just note that here, if I go onto the controls here, this is really the true size. Here I can manipulate the size within these bounds of the child, of the parent that I'm inside of here. So I can go left, I can go right. I have full, in other words, I have full custom control if I'm not on fill. But if I'm on fill, I'm giving up my, essentially my controls within the container that I'm in. Unless I want to go beyond the container, then I can. But like I said, I'm not sure why you'd want to go beyond the container that you're in. So anyway, that's all I had for today. I hope you found it helpful. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.